Varen moved through the silent metal corridors of the abandoned space station with slow, careful steps. Her soft green skin reflected the faint blue lights on the wall. She was young, small, and looked fragile. But inside her heart lived a powerful dream, something no Soray girl ever wished for. She wanted a human soul, her people. The Soray were known as the dim-hearted. They lived quiet lives, felt weak emotions, and never understood the deep feelings humans had: joy, pain, love, hope. To Varen, humans were like bright stars in a dark sky. She believed a human soul was the strongest thing in the whole galaxy, and she wanted that light for herself. There was an ancient belief in her culture. A Soray who carries human life will grow a soul as bright as the human parent. Most Soray laughed at this old belief, but not Varen. She held it close, like a treasure. She believed if she found one human, just one, her life would change forever. For years, she traveled from star to star, following rumors and broken signals. At last, she found a message, an emergency signal sent by a human ship before it crashed. The signal was weak and old, but for Varen, it was enough. She set her small vessel on course and followed it across the dark space. Now she stood inside the crashed station, her hands shaking. The air smelled of burned wires and dust. Parts of the corridor were broken, and sharp metal pieces hung from the ceiling like teeth. Varen's heart beat faster than ever. Is a human truly here? She whispered to herself. Then she heard it. A voice. A human voice. Help. Somebody help me. The voice was rough, desperate, echoing through the ruined hallway. Varen froze. Her large dark eyes widened. She had heard human voices in old recordings, but this was real. The sound was filled with strong emotion, so sharp it almost hurt her ears. Humans always felt life so loudly. She followed the voice, carefully stepping over fallen beams and broken glass. Her feet made soft taps on the metal floor. The crying voice came again. Please, anyone help me. Varen's breath caught in her throat. The human sounded in pain. He sounded alone. Her dream was so close, but fear grew inside her chest like a tight knot. What if he attacked her? Humans were powerful. They had strong bodies and even stronger minds. If he believed she was an enemy, he might hurt her. But Varen pushed forward. She whispered, I must try. I must know a human before I fear one. She reached a doorway bent out of shape. Inside, smoke curled in the air. A broken engine hummed softly. Metal crates were thrown everywhere. And in the center, trapped under a heavy metal beam, lay a human man. His clothes were torn, his arm bleeding, and he kept pushing against the beam with shaking hands. He looked exhausted, angry, and scared. When he heard Varen step closer, he turned his head sharply. Their eyes met. For a moment, the world went silent. Varen stared with awe. This was her first real human. His eyes were bright, filled with pain but also strength. She could feel his emotions from across the room like waves crashing over her. The man grabbed a sharp metal piece, holding it like a weapon. Stay back, he shouted. Varen flinched but did not step away. I am not enemy, she said slowly, trying to use human words. Who are you? He demanded. She took a small breath. My name, Varen. I come to help. He narrowed his eyes. Why would you help me? Varen looked at him with pure honesty. Because you are human. And I need a human. The man did not understand her meaning. His face hardened with fear and confusion. Before Varen could speak again, the ground under them shook violently. Dust fell from the ceiling. Something heavy walked above the metal plates. The human's eyes widened. They're coming back. Varen whispered, Who is coming? He answered with a trembling voice, The ones who shot me down. And then the hallway lights flickered to red. Elias Ward felt the cold metal under his back and the burning pain in his leg. But none of that frightened him as much as the alien girl standing a few steps away. Her soft green skin, wide black eyes, and thin trembling hands made her look harmless. But after the attack he survived. He trusted nothing and no one. The broken engine behind him sparked again, filling the room with white flashes of light. Each flash showed the same sight, Varen standing still, her hands slightly raised, trying to show she meant no harm. Elias tightened his grip on the sharp metal shard he had picked up. "Don't come closer," he warned again. Varen stopped. Her voice came out soft and shaky. "I not hurt you. I want help." Her words were simple, almost childlike. Elias could tell she was trying hard to speak basic language. But everything about the situation felt wrong. He had been shot down by an enemy species only hours ago. His ship was destroyed. His friends were dead. And now an alien he had never seen before was telling him she wanted to help. Why would she? "Why are you here?" Elias asked, his voice low, suspicious. Varen pressed her hands together nervously. "I look for human." "That's not an answer," Elias snapped. Varen swallowed, trying to find the right words. "I search long time. Many stars. I need human." Elias' heart pounded faster. Need a human for what? Before he could ask, the metal floor under them shook again. Dust fell from the ceiling. The sound of heavy footsteps echoed through the corridor above their heads, slow, steady, and far too familiar. Elias felt cold fear grip him. "They're back." Varen looked up too, her eyes wide. "Who back?" Elias took a shaky breath. "The Tarlac. They ambushed my ship. They killed my crew. They want me alive so they can take information from me." The footsteps grew louder, closer. Varen's small frame stiffened. "Tarlac, bad for Saray too." Elias watched her carefully. Her fear looked real. Her hands were shaking. She wasn't acting. She wasn't pretending, but that didn't mean he could trust her. He turned his head, trying again to lift the heavy beam trapping his leg. Pain shot through him like fire. He gritted his teeth and pushed harder, but the metal didn't move. Varen stepped forward. "Let me help." "I can try." Elias pointed the sharp shard at her. "I said stay back." Her eyes filled with sadness, not fake, not dramatic, but a quiet sadness that made her look even smaller. "You hurt. You die if stay here. And I might die if you come closer." Elias replied, but then he heard it, Tarlac voices echoing through the corridor above. They were speaking their deep, harsh language, and one voice was already climbing down a nearby access shaft. They were close. Too close. Varen looked at Elias. "Please. I strong enough to lift some weight." "I try." Elias stared into her dark round eyes. There was no threat in them, no anger, no lies. Only fear. And a strange determination. He cursed it under his breath. "Fine, try." Varen rushed to his side, placed her small hands under the metal beam, and pushed with all her strength. Her thin arms shook violently. Her legs trembled. But she didn't stop. The beam rose just a little. Elias pulled his leg free, and gasped in pain. Varen dropped the beam and stumbled backward, exhausted. "You're free now," she whispered. Elias tried to stand but collapsed, his leg too weak. Varen moved beside him instantly, offering her shoulder. "No," he said, trying to push her away, but the Tarlac were almost at the door. Shadows moved behind the cracked metal. Elias felt his heartbeat race. He had two choices: trust the alien girl who needed a human, or be captured by the monsters who wanted to torture him. Varen looked at him with pleading eyes. "Please, come, I know place too." "Hide." The door groaned as the Tarlac began forcing it. "Open." Elias finally made his choice. He grabbed Varen's arm. "Go," he whispered. And the two of them disappeared into the dark passage just as the enemy broke. Inside, The hidden passage was narrow, cold, and built from old metal plates that groaned under every step. Varen moved quickly, guiding Elias through the darkness with one hand, while her other hand kept touching the wall to stay balanced. Elias leaned heavily on her, more than he wished to, but his injured leg refused to carry him alone. Behind them, the sound of the tarlac filled the main corridor, heavy boots, deep, angry voices, and metallic clanks of weapons being loaded. They were hunting. They were close. Varen whispered. They follow heat, movement, sound. Everything. Elias clenched his jaw. Then we're dead. No, Varen breathed softly. Not yet. The passage opened into a larger chamber, once part of a cargo storage area. It was dark except for glowing blue plants growing through cracks in the wall, wild, alien, but strangely beautiful. Their soft light painted the room in gentle color. Elias collapsed against a metal crate, breathing hard. Sweat ran down his face. His leg throbbed painfully, and he could feel warm blood dripping into his boot. Varen knelt beside him, her eyes filled with worry. You lose too much blood. I'll manage, Elias muttered, even though he knew he wouldn't. He watched her carefully. She was tired, shaking from effort, yet she kept glancing toward the hallway as if expecting danger at any moment. Elias was a trained pilot. He understood body language, and everything about Verena screamed truth, fear, concern, and a strange determination. She wasn't trying to trick him, but that didn't answer the bigger question. Why did she need a human so badly? Elias finally asked, Why did you come for me? You said you need a human. What does that mean? Varen froze. Her fingers curled nervously. She didn't look at him when she answered, I want human soul. Elias blinked. What? She whispered, Soray heart's weak. Feel nothing strong. No big hope. No deep love. No bright soul like you. She tapped the center of his chest. Human soul. Strongest in galaxy. Elias stared at her in confusion. Was she serious? Did she really believe this? Before he could respond, the chamber lights flickered as something heavy stepped into the outer corridor. A deep rumbling growl echoed through the metal. The tarlac. Varen's body stiffened. Hide! She grabbed Elias' hand and pulled him behind a stack of old machinery. They crouched low, pressing themselves between thick cables and a rusted generator. Elias tried to hold his breath, but the pain in his leg made him let out quiet gasps. Varen reached for his hand and squeezed it. Her touch was warm, trembling. Quiet, she whispered. The chamber door slid open with a long, sharp hiss. A tall tarlac soldier entered. His body was covered in black armor. His helmet glowed with red scanning lights, sweeping the room like hungry eyes. Each beep of the scanner made Varen's heart race faster. Elias watched the soldier raise a device, a heat detector. If it beeped, they were done. Varen moved suddenly, her mind racing. She spotted an old drone half buried under a pile of metal scrap. Its power cell was dead, but its heat generator still flickered faintly, very faintly. She whispered to Elias, I try something. What are you doing? He hissed. She crawled silently toward the drone, keeping low. The tarlac soldier scanned the room again, then aimed his weapon at a crate. For a terrifying moment, he stepped only 3 meters from where Elias was hiding. Varen reached the drone and pressed a small switch. The heat generator hummed weakly, then flared. A bright heat signature burst from the far side of the chamber. The tarlac helmet snapped toward the signal. A deep growl came from the soldier, and he moved toward the heat source, thinking the human was hiding behind the debris. Elias stared in disbelief. She had just risked her life to save him, again. When the soldier left the chamber to investigate, Varen crawled back, her hands shaking. You okay? Elias whispered. Varen nodded, though her breath came fast. We must go. More come soon. Elias looked at her with new eyes. She wasn't lying. She wasn't tricking him. She wasn't using him. She was protecting him. And that scared him more than the Tarlac, because he still didn't know why. The forest beyond the station felt like another world. The trees were tall and violet, with wide leaves that glowed faint blue under the twin moons. Soft dust floated in the air, making everything look dreamlike. Elias limped forward with Varine's help, trying not to fall, while strange animal sounds echoed through the night. Every step Elias took sent sharp pain through his leg. He bit down on his lip to stay quiet. The Tarlac were still searching the station, but once they discovered the false heat signal, they would come outside. And if they caught the trail of two warm bodies in the cold forest, escape would be nearly impossible. Varen kept glancing over her shoulder. We must move more far. Tarlac used long-range scan. Elias gave a humorless laugh. You think I'm not trying? Varen lowered her head. Sorry. I know you hurt. Her apology surprised him. Most aliens he encountered in war zones didn't care about human pain. Yet here she was, tiny and frightened, constantly watching him, helping him, protecting him. He finally asked the question he had been holding back. What's your real reason for helping me? You said you need a human soul. What does that even mean? Varen slowed down. Her thin fingers tightened around his arm. She walked him toward a fallen log and gently helped him sit. She sat across from him on the soft glowing grass, her eyes reflecting the moonlight. My people. Saray, we feel life like small light, she began, struggling to form the right words. Not strong. Not deep. Just soft feeling. Always soft. Elias frowned. You mean you don't feel emotions? Varen nodded slowly. We feel, but weak. Like candle. But humans. Her eyes lifted toward him, shining with quiet awe. You feel like sun. Elias blinked. The sun? Yes, she said softly. Bright, warm, powerful, full of life. He had heard many strange alien beliefs in his years as a pilot, but this one felt different. Varen spoke with such honesty that it didn't sound like superstition. It sounded like longing. And the thing about carrying a human child? Elias asked carefully. Varine's cheeks flushed a pale mint color, the Saray version of a blush. She lowered her head in embarrassment. There is old belief, she whispered. If Saray carry life from human, then Saray heart becomes bright. Soul becomes strong. Emotions grow. Saray becomes more like human. Elias raised an eyebrow. Do you really believe that? She hesitated, then nodded. I believe humans are door to big feelings. Big hope, big heart. I want that, I want. Her voice softened. I want to feel full life. For a moment, Elias forgot the pain in his leg. He studied her, this small alien girl who crossed stars because she wanted a soul. It was strange. It was naive. But it was also brave. He exhaled slowly. Even if that belief is true, you can't just find a human and... I know, Varen cut in gently. I not ask for that. Her voice shook awkwardly shy. Not now. Not fast. Not without knowing human heart first. Elias was taken aback. She wasn't some desperate alien chasing a myth blindly. She wanted understanding, connection, meaning. Their moment ended abruptly when the distant howl of a scanning drone echoed through the forest. Elias stiffened. Varen stood up fast. They search outside now, she whispered. We must hide better. Elias tried to stand, but his leg buckled. Varen rushed to catch him, pulling his arm over her shoulders. She was small, but determination made her strong. We go to research shelter, she said. Old human place. I see map before. It's safe for little time. Elias nodded, trusting her more than he expected. As they moved deeper into the glowing forest, He realized something strange. Varen wasn't chasing the human soul. She was growing one. Already. Fear, courage, hope. She felt all of them now, and Elias didn't know if that made their journey safer or far more dangerous. That the research shelter looked like nothing more than an old metal box half buried in roots and dirt. Its walls were covered with green moss, and broken glass panels dangled from the frame. But for Elias and Varen, it was a miracle, one moment of safety in a night full of danger. Varen helped Elias inside, carefully lowering him onto a dusty cot. His breathing was heavy. Sweat covered his forehead. She gently pushed a small container toward him. "Drink," she said softly. Elias drank the stale water, his hands trembling. "You really know this place?" Varen nodded. "Many old shelters on this world. Humans used long time ago." Elias studied her. She was fussing over him like a worried nurse checking his wound with shaking hands, cleaning the blood with torn cloth she found. She didn't know human medical rules, but she tried with all her heart. "Why do you care so much?" Elias finally asked. She paused. Then she sat across from him on the floor, legs folded, hands resting on her lap. "I watch humans for a long time," she said quietly. "I see humans hurt. I see humans fight. But always humans help someone. Even stranger." She lowered her eyes. "I want that heart." Elias let out a slow breath. He wasn't used to praise, especially not from an alien girl who looked at him like he was something holy. "You think humans are all good?" he asked. Varen shook her head. "No, some bad. Some cruel. But even bad humans feel big feelings." She touched her chest. "Soray not feel big. Only little." Elias leaned back, feeling the ache in his leg burn. "A soul isn't something you get by carrying a child," he said. "It's something you grow. You earn it." Varen's eyes sparkled. "Earn? How earn?" "By choices," Elias explained. "By doing what's right, even when you're scared. By loving someone enough to risk your life. By protecting others." Varen listened like each word was a rare gem. "Humans feel because they choose to," Elias continued. "Pain, hope, courage. They come from inside, not from blood." Varen placed a hand on her chest again. "So, soul is choice?" Elias nodded. "Yes, you don't need a human child. You need a human heart." She looked confused. "But I am not human." Elias smiled weakly. "Maybe heart not need shape. Maybe only need purpose." Varen's lips parted slightly. She seemed to understand, but only a little. Her kind had never spoken about choices. They were taught that souls came from birth, not from courage. She whispered, "I feel something now. I feel worry for you. Fear for you. Strong fear." She touched her cheek. "Soray not feel this before." "That's a start," Elias said. For a moment, they sat in a warm silence. The forest outside hummed softly. The shelter lights flickered in and out. Varen watched Elias with the quiet wonder of someone seeing a star up close. Then the silence broke. Loud mechanical whine filled the air. Varen jumped to her feet. "Drone!" Elias' eyes widened. "They found us?" Varen ran to the broken window and peeked outside. A Tarlac scout drone hovered above the trees, sweeping bright red lines across the forest floor. "They close," she whispered. "Very close." Elias tried to stand but stumbled. "We need to move." "No," Varen said firmly. "You stay. I lead drone away." Elias grabbed her wrist. "No." "If they catch you." She looked back at him, tears forming in her eyes, real tears, not the weak Soray kind. She smiled softly. "You teach me soul is choice. Is to protect you." Elias froze. Those were not the words of a dim-hearted alien. Those were the words of someone who was already growing a human soul. Varen turned toward the door. her small frame filled with new courage. "Stay alive," she whispered. Then she ran out into the glowing forest, leaving Elias with only the echo of her footsteps and the fear that he might lose her forever. The forest glowed faint blue as Varen ran through it, her thin feet barely touching the ground. Her chest hurt from fear, but her legs kept moving. She needed to pull the drone away from Elias. She needed him safe. Every second, the drone scanned the trees. The danger grew sharper. Behind her, the drone's red tracking lights flashed between the branches. A low, cold buzz filled the air, like an angry machine hunting its prey. Varen jumped over a fallen log and ducked behind a thick trunk. Her breaths came fast, shaky. She pressed her back against the bark and closed her eyes for a moment. "Be brave. Be brave like human," she whispered. The drone beeped sharply and turned toward her. Hiding place. Varine's eyes widened. She leaped from behind the tree and dashed through the clearing. The drone followed instantly, firing a red scanning beam across the ground. The beam barely missed her feet. She didn't look back. She couldn't. She ran until her lungs burned. Then she stopped abruptly. 3 Tarlac. Soldiers stepped out from between the glowing trees, blocking her path. They were tall, armored, and carried shock rifles crackling with blue energy. Their narrow helmets turned toward her in unison. Varen froze. She was alone, small, weak, and the Tarlac never spared Saray. One soldier raised his weapon. Before he could fire, a loud crack echoed through the forest. A metal pipe slammed into the soldier's helmet, knocking him off balance. Varine's breath caught. Les. He stood behind the Tarlac, leaning on one leg, using the pipe like a club. He looked pale, exhausted, and ready to fall, but his eyes burned with fierce determination. "Get away from her," he shouted, swinging the pipe again. The second Tarlac lunged toward him. Elias blocked the swing with the pipe, sparks flying. Varen screamed, "No, you hurt!" Elias didn't stop. He fought like someone who had nothing left to lose and everything to protect. A third soldier grabbed Varine's arm. She twisted, trying to break free, but the grip was too strong. His claws dug into her skin. "Let her go." Elias roared. During the struggle, the soldier facing Elias charged his weapon. Blue electricity danced along the barrel. Elias raised the pipe, but the weapon fired. The blue bolt struck Elias directly in the chest. He fell backward, hitting the ground with a sickening thud. Varine's scream shook the trees. She ripped her arm, free with surprising strength, and threw herself toward Elias. The Tarlac soldier reached for her again, but something changed inside her, something fierce, bright, and burning. She felt anger. She felt fear. She felt love. She felt everything she thought she never could. She grabbed a sharp, metal shard from the forest floor and slashed at the soldier's arm. Blue sparks flew as she hit a weak point in the armor. The soldier roared in pain. Varen dropped the shard and rushed to Elias. He lay still, eyes half open, chest rising weakly. The shock blast burned a hole in his jacket. His breaths sounded rough and painful. "Elias," Varen cried, shaking his shoulders. "Open eyes." "Please," he coughed, barely speaking. "I told you not to run alone." "Why you follow?" she whispered, tears flooding her eyes. Elias gave a faint smile. "Because I don't let friends die alone." Her heart tightened painfully, another new feeling. Behind them, the drone beeped, detecting human life. Varen stood up slowly. Her eyes changed, full of new fire. She stepped in front of Elias, shielding him with her small body. "I protect him," she whispered, voice shaking. "My choice." The drone charged its weapon. Then, a sudden blast of bright light shot across the forest. A human rescue gunship descended through the treetops, its engines roaring. Soldiers rappelled down, firing at the drone. The Tarlac scattered. Varen dropped to her knees beside Elias as human medics rushed toward them. For the first time in her life, she felt something she had never known before, the full, bright weight of a human soul growing inside her. The human gunship's engines shook the ground as it landed in the glowing forest clearing. Dust and blue leaves swirled around Varayan, but she didn't move. She stayed on her knees beside Elias, holding his hand tightly, refusing to let go even when human soldiers approached. "Step back!" A medic shouted. Varen didn't move. She pressed her forehead to Elias' shoulder. No, I stay." Elias opened his eyes slightly. His voice was weak, but his fingers curled around hers. "It's okay, Varen. They're on our side." Slowly, she let the medics lift him onto a stretcher. Her hands hovered over him until the last second, scared that if she let go, he might disappear forever. One soldier pointed his weapon at her. "Identify yourself." Varayan froze. She looked small, shaking, terrified. The bright gunship lights made her green skin glow. She lifted both hands slowly, but Elias forced his head up. "Stop, she's with me. She saved my life." The soldier hesitated, then lowered the weapon. Only then did Varen breathe again. Elias spent the next few hours in the gunship's medical bay, drifting in and out of sleep. Varen sat outside the glass door, knees pulled to her chest, watching every rise and fall of his breathing. Her eyes burned from crying, but she didn't blink. Human officers questioned her, confused by her presence, but she answered gently, honestly, and always ended with the same words, "I stay with Elias." When Elias finally woke, he saw her curled beside his bed, her head resting on her folded arms. She sat up fast when he moved. "You live," she whispered, tears filling her eyes again. Elias smiled weakly. "You didn't think I'd die that easily, did you?" Varen shook her head. "I think I lose you, and that feeling. It hurt more than anything." Elias shifted slightly, wincing as his wound pulled. "That feeling is called fear of losing someone you care about." Varen touched her chest. It heavy, but bright. "Like sun inside heart," he nodded. "That's what a soul feels like." She went still. Her hand slowly slid up her chest, as if searching for something inside herself. "So, I have soul now?" Elias looked into her wide, hopeful eyes. "You earned one. All those choices you made, protecting me, risking your life, fighting back, caring. That's what a soul is." Varayan's breathing stopped for a moment. Then she whispered, "I not need human child now." Elias laughed softly. "No, you just needed courage, and you already had that." She leaned closer, her voice very gentle. "Before, I feel small, dim, weak. Now, I feel warm, strong, alive. This is because of you." Elias shook his head. "No, Varen. It's because of you. You chose all of it." Varen blinked, her tears finally falling freely. "I understand now. Soul not given. Soul grown." Exactly. Days later, the gunship returned to a human base. Soldiers walked in lines, medics rushed, machines beeped, but Varayan stayed close to Elias the whole time. Humans stared at her, confused or curious, but she didn't care. One evening, when Elias was strong enough to sit outside, they watched the twin suns set behind tall mountains. The sky turned pink and gold. Varen sat beside him on the metal steps, her shoulder touching his. She looked at him with quiet wonder. "I travel stars to find human soul," she said. "But I find something else." Elias raised an eyebrow. "What's that?" She placed her hand on his soft, warm, sure, human heart. Elias' smile was slow and gentle. "Then you found the most important thing." Varen took a deep breath, feeling the new strength inside her chest. The light she always dreamed of was hers now, not because she carried human life, but because she learned how to live. How to choose. How to love. As the suns dipped below the horizon, she whispered one last truth. "I am not dim anymore." And for the first time in her life, Varayan felt completely, brilliantly alive.